Welcome to the local campaign here on Rogers TV. Thank you so much for joining us. Our focus today is on the riding of Ottawa-Vanier. Before I introduce you to our candidates, I'll go over the format as it differs from previous formats. We are not doing a debate format this time around for various reasons. We're actually doing it virtually with all of our candidates in a question and answer session. So the format looks as follows. Each candidate gets an opening statement of 60 seconds, followed by a number of questions, again with a 60-second time limit, and then each candidate will have an opportunity for closing statement of 60 seconds. So with that being said, I'll introduce you to our candidates. We'll do it in alphabetical order for the Ottawa-Vanier riding. First up, Eric Armstrong-Giroux of the Ontario Party, Lucille Collard of the Liberal Party, Coreen Corcoran of the Libertarian Party, Lyra Evans of the NDP, Blake Hamilton of the None of the Above Party, David McGruer of the Freedom Party, Michael Pastion of the New Blue Party, and Christian Proulx of the Green Party. We now begin with our opening statement for each candidate, and as I said, we'll do that in alphabetical order. We begin with Eric Armstrong-Giroux of the Ontario Party. You have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Eric Armstrong-Giroux. I'm the candidate for the Ontario Party. I would like to thank Rogers TV for the opportunity to participate today. I'm not a politician, I am a citizen. I'm a single father, a hardworking small business owner, and a man of faith. I decided to get involved in politics because our province is in a crisis, a financial crisis. Years ago, I voted for the Conservative Party because I like how Doug Ford kept telling us the party with the people's money is over. Well, under Doug Ford's government, the party with the people's money never ended, it just changed venues. I chose the Ontario Party because I strongly believe in the 6 pillars: faith, family, freedom, fiscal responsibility, truth, and transparency. And I would like to earn your vote this June 2nd. Thank you.
Lucille Collard of the Liberal Party, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Hello there, residents of Ottawa-Vanier. My name is Lucille Collard, and I'm running for re-election because I want to continue the great work that I've done for the last couple of years. I've been a strong voice for you at Queen's Park, and I would love nothing more than to continue to do that. I've worked as your MPP for the last 2 years, but I also have 35 years of experience in the public service as a lawyer and as a public servant. I was a school trustee for 10 years where I really got closer to the community, made really great connection, and really got closer to our community and their priorities. I'm hoping that I can continue to count on your support as I and my family have established ourselves here for almost 4 decades. And my 4 kids are really happy to continue living here. And I want to continue to defend what's important for them and what's important for you. Thank you.
Coreen Corcoran of the Libertarian Party, it is now time for your opening statement. You have 60 seconds.
Today you will hear from political parties offering to solve the problems in this province with the wave of a magic wand. They will all somehow suddenly have the ability to create more jobs and offer cheap or even free services that will make up for decades of failures of their own making. I've watched this province decline to the point where hallway medicine is the norm and teachers' needs are put ahead of the students. Ontario is not an inspiring or innovative place to work and live. Government services are broken, and the only way forward is to remove the government control over how we choose to live our lives. You would hardly know that we are in the 21st century with services being provided the same way they were in the 1970s and 80s. Sure, the technology has changed, but technology does not fix a bad process. We have one-size-fits-all service in a pay-as-you-go world. It's time for us to decide what we want for our families and our communities. It's time for choice, and only the Ontario Libertarian Party is offering it to you this election.
Lyra Evans of the NDP, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Hi, my name is Lyra Evans. I am the NDP candidate for Ottawa-Vanier. I'm an environmental chemist, a public school board trustee, and a believer in the power of government to address social problems. I was a homeless teenager for years, and I've seen firsthand how the cycle of poverty ruins lives. I am now stably hosed, graduated university, and have a stable job, but I'm one of the lucky ones. I spend my time now advocating for the kinds of programs that help me escape that very cycle of poverty. I have volunteered with organizations dedicated to helping LGBTQ people and homeless youth for more than a decade, and realized that problems like homelessness, like poverty, like affordable housing and mental health care are problems that cannot be solved by an individual. They are societal problems that require societal solutions. The NDP is the party of everyday people. We want to expand healthcare to make sure that everyone is healthy. We want to make sure everyone can afford a place to live. We want people with skills from another jurisdiction to be recognized in Ontario, and we want to ensure that people are treated fairly in the workplace by their boss. Conversations about policy are important to a functioning democracy, and you're doing your part by becoming an uninformed voter. Thanks for tuning in. Let's do some questions.
Blake Hamilton of the None of the Above Party, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Blake Hamilton, and I'm running as a candidate for the None of the Above Direct Democracy Party. Our current political system here in Ontario has become so profoundly dysfunctional and corrupt, broken beyond repair. All the big parties and their representatives now serve themselves more than they serve us. This is fundamentally backwards and very much wrong. I'm here to give the people of Ottawa-Vanier, who are also fed up with this awful status quo, a chance to cast their ballots for something and someone different, to vote for a real change. We need a truly independent representative who will always support your ideas, fight for the needs of our community, and act with the utmost integrity. Not someone tainted and hobbled by big party politics. Someone who will be your consistent champion for more accountability, more fairness, and more democracy. A genuine, unconstrained voice. I can be that voice. Your voice. Thank you.
David McGruer of the Freedom Party. It's time for your opening statement. You have 60 seconds.
The Freedom Party of Ontario platform is not a complete list of everything we would achieve, but it sets out 4 principal pillars of governance. First, truth. The Ontario government's response to the spread of SARS-CoV-2 must be investigated and evaluated thoroughly. Ontarians deserve a full and transparent inquiry. Second, rights. The government of a free society has only one job: to make and enforce laws that maintain respect for your individuality, your capacity to think and choose, and your pursuit of your own happiness. To defend you against anyone, including governments, who would attempt to take your life, liberty, or property without your consent. Third, justice. The government has engaged in gross violations of individual freedom with the support of the other parties. To the extent the Ontario government has wronged people and can reverse the wrong, it must now do so. Fourth, freedom. The laws of Ontario need to be changed to prevent future infringements upon freedom that have happened over the past 2 years.
Michael Pastion of the New Blue Party, you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
I was born and bilingually raised in Vanier and have lived in Byward since 2015. I'm a big picture, beyond the box, visionary fiscal realist with diverse entrepreneurial experience. I've enjoyed an early career in the arts, dance, music, theater, radio, TV, film, print media, hotels, restaurants, gaming, labor, antiques, sports memorabilia, retail, sales, and marketing. I recently led and published landmark dental ethics policy audits, fraud journalistic investigations, and I've been John Baird MP's EDA Board Executive Secretary, Ontario PC Board Member, City of Ottawa Vice Chair of the Equity and Diversity Advisory Committee, candidate in 3 civic elections, plus New Blue Ottawa-Vanier President.
Christian Proulx of the Green Party. It's now time for your opening statement. You have 60 seconds.
I'm Christian Proulx. I'm a father, a lifelong volunteer, and a proud Franco-Ontarian. I was born in Ottawa-Vanier. I grew up here, and I'm still here today. I'm a plumber and a foreman with 30 years experience in construction. I'm running because I care about sustainability. I care about what we're passing on to the next generations. I share Green Party values, not just about the environment, but about the need to do politics differently. We need to bring honesty, integrity, and collaboration into the province the way it is governed. We need to put people first. Affordable housing, improve access to mental health and healthcare. We need to steer towards good, sustainable jobs for a new, innovative economy. The Green Party has a fully costed platform to build communities that are livable, affordable, and connected.
First question. The cost of living is perhaps the biggest issue for many in this election. What would you do to help people afford their day-to-day expenses? Eric Armstrong-Giroux of the Ontario Party, you have 60 seconds.
So cost of living is next question. There's a few things in our platform that we have to address this. One would be our post-secondary education platform. What we propose to do is adjust the funding to allow for the jobs in the labor market that need it most to have those programs funded at a higher rate than, say, education where there is not many jobs when you graduate. Not only does this allow for better paying jobs, but also we're not doing our youth we're not doing them any service by allowing them to take an education, absorb a huge student debt, and then have no job to go to when it's all said and done. On top of that, we also want to reverse any of the damage done during the lockdown in the past 2 years under the Doug Ford government and get people back to working in the careers where they were before.
Lucille Collard of the Liberal Party, same question to you. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. The life has become very unaffordable, and there are external factors that are uncontrollable, but there are some that we can control, and that's what we need to work on. We understand very well that people need more affordable housing. So we are committed to building more affordable housing. 1.5 million overall, but with 23,000 that would be devoted to affordable housing, with a great number, like 22,000 that would be devoted to Indigenous for their families as well. We want to reduce the cost of food because we know it's important. So prepared food would be lowered by 8% of all meals of $20 or less. We're going to lower public transit to $1 per ride to allow people to go about more easily and more affordably. And finally, living wage need to be raised to allow people to really pay for what's important. So we're going to raise that $16 with a regional adjustment.
Coreen Corcoran of the Libertarian Party, same question to you.
Cost of living issues that we have right now have all been pretty much a result of government planning, government interference in our lives, and not allowing people to make their own choices. Provincially, federally, we've seen gas prices go up, partially due to the taxes that are on the gas prices, which in turn puts the price of all goods up for all consumers. It ends up being a tax on the poor, for middle class families, for everybody. What we would do is just get the government out of the way. The federal government, with their playing around with the Bank of Canada rates, it's created an artificial world, an artificial monetary policy that just isn't sustainable.
Lyra Evans of the NDP, same question for you. Cost of living is perhaps the biggest issue for many in this election. What will you do to help people afford their day-to-day expenses?
For many families across Ontario, housing is the most expensive cost in their monthly budget. From increasing rents to unaffordable mortgages, we're seeing more and more families stretched to the limit by the cost of housing. The NDP has a plan to address housing. We are committing to ending MOUs, which are exclusionary zones in municipalities that prevent middle housing from being built, where they draw a circle on the map and say, we're only going to build single family homes. We're also looking to make sure that we implement real rent control so that families can be sure that their rent isn't going to skyrocket year after year. We're also looking to make sure that the rent remains consistent between tenants, which means we're going to see fewer rent evictions. The NDP and myself are generally worried about the cost of affordability for everybody, and we have plans to address it.
From the None of the Above Party, Blake Hamilton, same question for you.
Provided that a clear majority of constituents agree via a riding-wide plebiscite held first, I would address the affordability and cost of living crisis by encouraging us all to work together in order to build prosperity for everybody. ensuring that every person in our community has the true freedom and opportunity to reach their full potential, without unnecessary financial worries or constraints. Specifically, I'd advocate for the design and implementation of a well-structured and equitably balanced universal basic income model, designed with a proper fiscal prudence to maintain and encourage economic growth. I'd avoid adding unnecessarily to the personal income tax burden of average citizens by leveraging funding options that focus on financial sector contributions, fewer tax breaks for large companies, and fewer subsidies for the wealthy.
David McGruer from the Freedom Party. Same question to you. You have 60 seconds.
The cost of living, the problem we're having with it, in other words, inflation, is purely a function of government. It's not mainly the function of the provincial government, but rather the federal, because they control the Bank of Canada and are the largest deficit financiers in the country. But Ontario, as the largest province, is contributing wholeheartedly to this problem through massive deficit spending. Going deeply into debt forces interest rates higher over time, as it must. It's a matter of supply and demand. So a Freedom Party of Ontario government would get government out of deficit financing, balance the budget very quickly within 1 year, and thus restore a normal balance to the largest province in Canada to balance its budget. So that would be our main part. On the housing side, we would remove all the obstacles to the building of affordable housing. And there are many of them created by various levels of government.
Michael Pastion of the New Blue Party. Same question for you. Cost of living is perhaps the biggest issue for many in this election. What will you do to help people afford their day-to-day expenses?
We look at improving government functionality and getting people back to work, and just getting things cracking, getting this lockdown ended as soon as possible. It should have never happened in the first place, as it turns out, from the looks of it, from all the conflicting information we've received through the sources that the public has been privy to. And the staff that's been rehired, the staff that's been let go during the pandemic, need to be rehired as soon as possible, and whatever wages they lost over the course of time, reimbursed to them.
Christian Proulx of the Green Party, same question.
To help, the affordability is in crisis right now. We need to focus on all aspects. There's the home aspects. There's also if we bring products closer to home, if we have our food production closer to home, it will help with affordability. Currently, there's a housing affordability. We need crisis. We need to limit the amount of speculation into the system. We have to focus that homes are for people. We want to develop sustainable developments that in the long term does look after all the needs of the people. It's always about putting people first. And if we do that, we can achieve more affordable communities, more affordable transport, more affordable food, more affordable housing, more affordability for everyone. And that is the Green Plan. It's in the party platform, and we're really committed to that.
Next question. The Ottawa region has had its fair share of difficulties with their public transit master plan, specifically the LRT. Regardless of what comes out of the provincial inquiry, will you help ensure residents get a system they can rely on? Lucille Collard of the Liberal Party, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Public transit is an important part of how people commute here in the city of Ottawa. And there's no doubt that we need to continue to expand this system. We have promised to have a $1 per ride for people to go about. That's including the LRT or bus system. But in order to make that a good reality and to allow people to take advantage of that, we need to expand the system. So that also includes supporting the LRT. That includes also encouraging people to take their bike. That's why we're also going to bring back some incentive for people to use more electric vehicles, but specifically electric bicycles. So we're going to expand the bicycle lanes for the security of people, to make sure that they're safe and that people can use it the most extensively possible.
Coreen Corcoran of the Libertarian Party, you have the same question.
I've been taking OC Transfo for probably about 35 years. And in that time, I can't think of any of the innovations or different things that the governments and the cities have tried to implement that have made the system any better. LRT in particular forced people I know who used to take transit directly to downtown to actually get back into their cars because they can't rely on the service. We were hearing from some parties that want to offer cheaper or free service for public transit. But if we don't have a reliable service, you're not going to get people to get out of their cars and to get onto a train or into a bus. The government seems to think if they build it, they will come, but they end up making it worse than it was in the first place.
Lyra Evans of the NDP, same question.
As we are all aware, the LRT has been a disaster because, in part, it was a P3 or a public-private partnership. The NDP has committed to ending all P3s and not signing any more to ensure that public services are held in the public interest without big corporations making money hand over fist on the public dime. I'm a little disappointed in the LRT. It has actually bypassed this community almost entirely. It goes right around this entire riding, and I think that's disappointing because we had a real opportunity when we were designing the public transit for the city to run the train line up Montreal Road or through the community, and that's better for everyday people. It means you're not walking as far to get to the train. It means you're not walking as far to get to the bus, and I think we sort of missed the boat, and I think it's the previous elected officials who didn't do anything when the LRT designs were being put forward who share that blame.
Blake Hamilton of the None of the Above Party, same question for you. The Ottawa region has had its fair share of difficulties with their public transit master plan, specifically the LRT. Regardless of what comes out of the provincial inquiry, will you help ensure residents get a system they can rely on?
Provided that a clear majority of constituents agree via a riding-wide plebiscite held first, I would strive to protect our transit and our environment by advocating for better solutions and smarter investments that are in place currently. Well, first I'd scrap the weak carbon pricing standard and restore the previous cap-and-trade system, which is a better approach in the overall struggle. Specifically for transit options, I'd also increase subsidies to auto manufacturers for the production of both hybrid and electric vehicles. I'd have more electric vehicle charging stations installed across the city. From an energy perspective, too, I'd expand in wind and solar energy infrastructure over the long term, but also embrace the nuclear option as a short to medium term clean energy solution. Refurbish and build more nuclear power plants, especially small modular reactors, in order to more rapidly reduce fossil fuel dependency and thus reduce greenhouse gas emissions more quickly and effectively.
David McGruer of the Freedom Party, same question to you.
In a free society, transportation and transit are not a proper function of government. So if elected, over time, the Freedom Party of Ontario would work to return such infrastructure to the citizens themselves through privatization. In every case, private businesses and the incentives and punishment that comes with competition in the marketplace drives costs lower and quality higher. As an example of this, Elon Musk's company SpaceX, has built a rocket ship that is 2,000 times less expensive to operate than NASA's best efforts so far. Just imagine the savings if all of the mandated aspects of public transit were returned to free and competitive and thinking and rational citizens. It's hard to imagine, but I aspire to such a world.
Michael Pastion of the New Blue Party, same question.
Well, the LRT should have been better planned out. It wasn't properly explained in the first place a long time ago as to how it would function. It would have been a great idea to let people know in the early going that the LRT would be available every 5 minutes or so. It's not something I found out until that wasn't announced until shortly before the LRT was ready to get rolling. I felt that the turns leading up to between Herdman and the train station were too sharp, and that's what caused the the wheel mechanism to mess up. As far as the LRT right now, we want to see it get going. Now that it's built, it should have gone to the airport in the first phase, in my view. And anyways, I like the way things are running right now to the degree.
Christian Proulx of the Green Party. Again, same question for you. The Ottawa region has had its fair share of difficulties with their public transit master plan, specifically the LRT. Regardless of what comes out of the provincial inquiry, will you help ensure residents get a system they can rely on?
Public transportation is more important. It's about mobility. And when you have mobility, you look after the people who need it the most. And that's to get mobile, to get the good jobs, to be able to transport yourself where you need to go. We need a robust system, one that has a trunk. We need to continue expanding it, and then to work complemented, to get to the closer regions, to have the last mile, to cover for the last mile. That is the plan. That's the long-range plan. We need to get to that. And as long as we focus on what we desire, where our aim is, we're going to get there. We do it one by one, step at a time. But then you always keep the focus that you want to make sure that you make mobility better for everyone. So it has to be a good system, a system that will draw people to it, and it'll take people out of their cars, and it will increase your affordability overnight.
Eric Armstrong-Giroux of the Ontario Party, the same question for you.
Yeah, I live in Ottawa, and that's one of the biggest stories of the past few years was the LRT system we have here, and how awful the government and the local, municipal, and provincial and federal government handled that. One of the biggest issues was the choice in contractors. SNC was all over the news, wrapped up in controversies, and even with all that, even with the federal inquiries into SNC-Lavalin, the mayor, Jim Watson, still chose to use them as his preferred contractor. So I would advocate into investigating why that decision was made and what we can do to fix this system, because right now we have a broken system, expensive, and it simply doesn't work.
Next question. Ontario desperately needs more skilled tradespeople. How will you help attract and encourage more people to consider a career in the skilled trades? Coreen Corcoran from the Libertarian Party, you have 60 seconds.
Again, there's a stigma that's been attached to the trades for decades, where we have become a society where we value a university degree over a skilled trade. What we're seeing is the result of many years of people, whether they're pushing their children to or just the children taking the initiative themselves, to go the route of university instead of going into the trades, which actually at this point pay well above what a lot of university graduates are being paid in their more white collar type jobs in the office, the laptop class, if you will. There's nothing to do to make it just make it more appealing, have media, have the government, have anybody, journalists, say that trades are just as valued as university.
Lyra Evans of the NDP, same question.
We've seen an increasing number of young people look to the future when they decide what they want to go to university or go to college. When we talk about encouraging people into the skilled trades, I think as a public school board trustee, we need to be encouraging these things from a younger age. We need to tell all of our students that every career path is viable, because right now there is so much focus in high school, in secondary education, towards go to university. And I think if we had less of a focus on specifically university and more of a focus on other career paths as available, we would have more people moving into the skilled trades. The NDP is also committed to making sure that tuition is affordable for everyone who needs it. And if we're going to be encouraging people into the skilled trades, we should make sure that apprenticeships are available and that there isn't exorbitant upfront costs for people who want to get into those fields. Thank you.
Blake Hamilton of the None of the Above party, same question to you.
Provided that a clear majority of constituents agree via a riding-wide plebiscite held first, I'd help boost our local economy by supporting small businesses and give them a better chance to succeed, especially those involving skilled tradespeople. I'd advocate for reducing taxes on them and their owners, while also ending corporate subsidies and increasing taxes on large corporations. I'd also boost funding for skilled training and apprenticeship options. I'd also work to increase small business and apprenticeship support and mentorship programs to assist emerging entrepreneurs and skilled tradespeople in the planning and early stages of their journey. I'd leverage and exploit connections at the community level to match young entrepreneurs and skilled tradespeople with established business owners and tradespeople that would enhance relationships and develop local know-how and resiliency to the benefit of all and the boost of our community.
David McGruer of the Freedom Party. Again, same question.
In a free society, skills, trades, even education are not proper functions of government. Government's role is to intervene with the use of force to protect the rights of citizens, and that is clearly not the case with any form of education. Education should be free of government controls. If this was done, the marketplace would drive and incentivize all the types of education that are demanded according to the demand in the marketplace. So the massive distortions that have taken place in the marketplace for skilled trades, certifications, everything else are pure functions of government interference. And it's not that we need more of that interference. What we need is to remove all of it over a period of time. And I recognize that it would take quite a time to remove all of these, but we can certainly make a big start in a 4-year period.
Michael Pastion of the New Blue Party, same question for you. Ontario desperately needs more skilled tradespeople. How will you help attract and encourage more people to consider a career in the skilled trades?
Well, if we need to have proper school pragmatic, long-term practical skills taught to students. If that had happened a long time ago, we might not be talking about this right now. A lot of skilled trades workers and nurses and emergency services workers have been left out of work, and that's created a large opening. The staff have been let go of work for for being pushed into getting a vax pass that for a vaccine that's proven to be highly messed up. We want to get the top talent available here in Ottawa and advertise around the world to get that.
Christian Proulx of the Green Party, same question for you.
Skilled trades are very important. It is on my background. When I went to school and I did my apprenticeship, the apprenticeship was free. The schooling itself was free, and you went on EI to help you just sustain yourself through your schooling. It was kind of a win-win. So, I mean, it's not easy being out of work for 2 months. You have to plan for it. But it was a good system, and it did encourage. We need to encourage more people to get into the trades because it is good, solid jobs. And we need that in the future. The Green Platform looks to create new apprenticeships for the new clean economy, for new jobs of the future. We would provide free apprenticeship for up to 60,000 new students to fill in the jobs for the future, for what we need, and good paying job. Apprenticeships, we have the system. Let's just keep it going. Let's just make it better, make it work.
Eric Armstrong-Giroux of the Ontario Party, again, same question to you.
60 seconds will not be enough to answer this question. I am in the trades. I know very much the impact that we have. our post-secondary education platform basically allows for, well, virtually free training towards the skilled trades, because we do need to prop that industry up. Right now, there's no incentive to go to the trades. With the rising cost of minimum wage, the stagnant increases in wages in the trades, it's not appealing to someone to go and destroy their body for a little bit more money than maybe they could make at a lower paying, less stressful job. So in order to prop up that industry, we need to incentivize workers to enter that field. Not only would making it free encourage more people to take that sort of education, but it would also provide opportunities for the people in our most vulnerable communities to get a career.
Same question to Lucille Collard of the Liberal Party. Ontario desperately needs more skilled tradespeople. How will you help attract and encourage more people to consider a career in the skilled trades?
Yes, we need to provide people with jobs. That's no question. That's how people make a living. That's how we build a sustainable economy. I think that some of the changes on the environment will allow people to shift maybe the type of jobs that they have. But what we need to focus on is make sure that internationally trained skilled people are given a chance to also contribute to the economy. So what we need to do really is to give them the opportunity to use their skills, to bridge their capacity to get the standards that we have here in Canada so that they can also contribute to the economy and strive. So we're going to work with the universities, with colleges to make sure that people are included. And that's also for Francophone, so that all immigrants can contribute to the economy.
Next question. What measures would you put in place to make housing more affordable to Ontarians? Lyra Evans of the NDP, you have 60 seconds.
The NDP is committing to improving rent control. We are looking to make sure that we end the practice of rent evictions by requiring tenants who leave to be paying the same amount of rent as the tenants who would arrive in that apartment. Which means if you move out and you're paying $1,000, the next tenant would also be paying $1,000. And this discourages landlords from evicting tenants to increase the rent. We're also looking to end exclusionary zoning, which is the process by which a municipality says we're only going to build single-family homes within the circle. And we're going to build middle housing. So we're going to build townhouses and row houses and the kinds of housing that's currently missing from the major buildings. We're seeing a lot of condo towers, and we're seeing a lot of multi-bedroom homes in the suburbs and not much in between.
Blake Hamilton of the None of the Above Party, same question for you.
Provided that a clear majority of constituents agree via a riding-wide plebiscite held first, I would do my utmost to help make sure that everyone can have the home they deserve without breaking the bank in the process. I'd provide more financial support to first-time homebuyers, including interest-free shared equity loans of up to 15% of the home's value for use in making down payments. I'd increase non-resident speculation and foreign buyer taxes to 25% for all property sales. I'd introduce a vacancy tax as well to dampen unfair demand and competition from investors who don't live in the homes they buy. I'd also bring back strict rent controls for all residential rental units, without exception. I'd also increase funding commitments to help build many more affordable, non-luxury homes of both single-family and multifamily types.
David McGruer of the Freedom Party, same question for you.
Wow, it is definitely not the case that Ontario needs more measures in place. What Ontario desperately needs is the removal of the hundreds of measures, maybe the thousands of them, that not conspire, but come together to make housing fantastically more expensive than it should be. Just look at all of the zoning laws that are applied at the local level. Look at all the labor laws that are applied at the provincial level or the federal level. There's an unbelievable amount of obstacles. It's so expensive for a company to produce a house. It's no wonder that they have great difficulty making them affordable. Affordable doesn't mean taking money from someone else and paying it to make it cheaper for the other person. It means allowing for the free market to drive construction of cheap housing and expensive housing and medium cost housing, all of the types of housing that are in demand. set people free and housing will become affordable.
Michael Pastion of the New Blue Party, same question to you.
Well, with the pandemic occurring, it's created a ton of empty high rises, and a lot of people working from home nowadays. And many of those high rises can be converted into homes, to condos and apartments, and for people of all people who of all backgrounds and finances. There's that. There's a lot of those available. We got to get those done as soon as possible. It's that simple. We would have to get financing from the government, the federal government, and the provincial government to make it happen, and the city as well.
Same question for Christian Proulx of the Green Party. What measures would you put in place to make housing more affordable to Ontarians?
A lot of what we can do to help with affordability really doesn't cost anything at all. Through regulation, we can allow for more density, light density, personal density. So if you have a single home, let's have conversions to duplex and triplexes. You don't have to, but let's just make it easier to do that and cut the red tape and the regulations to get there. It shouldn't cost so much just to get. You should be allowed to do that regardless. So it should be part of zoning changes that any residential home can be upsized later to increase density, to increase units. It would help to give passive income to people in there. So it's an extra source of income. It's a win-win for everyone. So we need to do away with exclusionary zoning and allow density in a controlled way and not in a drastic way, and putting people first.
Eric Armstrong-Giroux of the Ontario Party, same question to you.
So the Ontario Party proposes quite a few different opportunities or options, rather. In Toronto specifically, there was a study done by Scotiabank, and it shows that we only have 360 housing units per 1,000 residents. The average in other G7 countries is 471 per 1,000. So quite simply, we just don't have enough houses. Part of what we would do to help with that is to ban foreign ownership on residential buildings. And we also want to reform the zoning policies to allow more multi-dwelling 2- and 4-unit buildings to be built in communities where they need the most.
Lucille Collard of the Liberal Party, same question to you.
Yeah, housing is a very important component. A lot of people can get housed. We have a long list in Ottawa of people that cannot house themselves. So it is an urgent problem that we need to address. We need to build more houses to increase the supply. We need to build 138,000 affordable housing. That's the Ontario Liberals plan. We need to include 22,000 housing for Indigenous people that have a very increased needs in our community. We would tax vacant properties to include speculators not using the land and making sure that we're using available properties for housing. And again, we would also bring back rent control to make sure that landlords don't take advantage of tenants. And throughout all of this, we need to work with our municipal partners on zoning policies to make sure that we work on smart densification.
Coreen Corcoran of the Libertarian Party, same question to you. What measures would you put in place to make housing more affordable to Ontarians?
Again, this is a loaded question. It's not a simple answer. It's nothing that's going to be solved in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. We've got decades and decades of lack of housing, lack of affordable housing, lack of building that's been going on at the city level. One of the, couple of bright spots that I actually see in Ottawa-Vanier is the second tower being built at the Blair station. To me, that's smart. That's smart planning. You build an apartment block right beside the LRT where people can easily get to their transit. This is the way forward for housing. Montreal Road near Blair, there's a plan in place to redevelop that area with more housing, which again makes more sense because you're very close. You've got bus routes already going down that way. You're close to the LRT at Blair. We need to look at more spots within the city, within the infrastructure to build.
Next question. Funding for Ontario's public school system is always a priority issue for families with school-aged children. What do you feel is necessary to make sure Ontario public schools are of the highest quality in both education and infrastructure? Blake Hamilton of the None of the Above party, you have 60 seconds.
Provided that a clear majority of constituents agree via a riding-wide plebiscite held first, I'd help give our educators and students the tools they need to truly succeed. We need to boost funding again in order to hire more teachers and support staff, as well as to renovate and expand our schools. Reducing class sizes is also crucial. Like the Liberals, I'd mandate a classroom cap of 20 students at all levels. I'd advocate for more in-class supports for kids with special needs or learning challenges. I'd prioritize in-school mental health and wellness supports for everybody. We should also reduce the wrong-headed conservative emphasis on mediocre, insufficient online learning and pivot instead back to the much more effective model of experiential learning in the classroom.
David McGruer of the Freedom Party, same question to you.
As I have repeated on other questions, education is not a proper function of government. We have government schools, government teachers, government unions, government salaries, government contracts. These are so distortive. These are so damaging to the innovation, to the incentives, to the potential of our education in Canada that it is almost beyond imagination. Education has been getting worse because of increasing strictures and controls and restrictions on what is possible for the truly capable teacher and for the truly capable student. If elected, I would work to remove as many of the obstacles as possible that prevent change in education. Again, I say it is not that we need more education policy, we need far less education policy. Education is not a matter of protecting the individual's rights, so therefore government has no place in education.
Same question to Michael Pastion of the New Blue Party. You have 60 seconds.
Yeah, well, it's school class sizes need to be modified to make everything as affordable as fiscally affordable as possible, and we got to get the masks off the kids so they can function at a higher level. And we've got to stop fooling around with the mandates. And we've got to let kids be able to enjoy pragmatic, long-term, practical skills in a collaborative fashion. We have to be teaching them things that are important, and move away from the drastic CRT, critical race theory kind of stuff, and the far left agenda.
Christian Proulx of the Green Party, you have 60 seconds for the same question.
Education is about physical space, it's about social, it's about education, it's about the future. But it's not just about the learning. You have to learn the right skills. So we need to focus on improving how we teach, improving class sizes. We should really think of what is the best way to get the best return for our dollars in education. If it's smaller class sizes, we should do smaller class sizes. We need to have better ventilation also to see that what we saw through the pandemic. We want to limit disruptions. We need to put a bigger focus on youth mental health. You shouldn't wait more than 30 days to get the services you need. It can disrupt someone's learning path so drastically by not addressing the mental health. That has to be the first. It should be accessible and easy.
Eric Armstrong-Giroux of the Ontario Party, same question. Funding for Ontario's public school system is always a priority issue for families with school-aged children. What do you feel is necessary to make sure Ontario public schools are of the highest quality in both education and infrastructure?
I have a school-age son myself, so this issue is near and dear to me as well. What the Ontario Party proposes to do is issue a tax credit, or a tax voucher, if you will, between 1 and 2/3 of the cost. Now, it costs on average $12,600 to put a student through the public education system. This means that we would give parents between $4,000 and $8,000 to choose how they want to fund their child's education. This could be homeschooling, this could be charter schools, which we would introduce. This could be private schools, or you could remain in the public school systems, and there's nothing wrong with that. Another thing that I find is an issue is the EQAO scores. Provincially, we have a 50% pass rate, and that's not 50% score, that's pass. I chose to put my son into a French Catholic school board because they have a 98% pass rate. So what is it that this French Catholic school board can figure out that the public systems just can't seem to do?
Lucille Collard of the Liberal Party, same question for you.
Education is the basis of our society. That's where we build the society of tomorrow. So it's so important that we take care and that we prioritize education. We need to prioritize the infrastructure. And that's what we intend to do by canceling Highway 413 that nobody wants, using those $12 billion to repair schools that really need it, to construct new schools that are missing. And also, we need to take care of our teachers, and we need to take care of our students. We need more teachers, and to attract them, we need to make sure that they're supported in the classroom so that they can provide good care for the students that they look after. We need to look after the mental health of our students that have been going through such a hard time over the last 2 years. So we'll bring in more mental health support in a timely manner for teachers, for education workers, and for all the students.
Coreen Corcoran of the Libertarian Party. Again, same question.
Again, the Ontario Libertarian Party will give children the choice of where they want to go to school. The money will follow the child to the school. It will not just go into a bucket that will provide the same type of education for everybody across the board. As I mentioned earlier, our public services are offered in a one-size-fits-all way. And as we've come to see over decades of watching children in the current format for schooling, that everybody has different needs and children have different needs. And we need to celebrate that. We need to offer or make it easier for parents to provide their children with the type of schooling that is good for them, that will give them a better education, that will get them ready for the real world.
Lyra Evans of the NDP, same question to you. Funding for Ontario's public school system is always a priority issue for families with school-aged children. What do you feel is necessary to make sure Ontario public schools are of the highest quality in both education and infrastructure?
As a public school board trustee, I love this question. I think we need to recognize that the funding formula we have for students is fundamentally flawed. Right now, school boards get about $13,000 per student per year. And that has to go towards teachers and EAs and custodial staff and administration and everything. And I recognize that not every student is the same. Some students need additional early reading supports. Some students need extra support. Some students with autism have exceptional needs. And $13,000 doesn't cover that. And I think that we need to readdress or re-examine how we fund public education. The NDP is committed to rebuilding the funding formula from the ground up to make sure that we are adequately meeting the needs of all of our students and making sure that our buildings are properly funded, to make sure that we're not sending kids to school in dilapidated buildings.
It is now time for our closing statements. Again, a reminder to each of our candidates that you have 60 seconds, and we will do this in reverse alphabetical order. We start with Christian Proulx of the Green Party. You have 60 seconds.
There is no doubt about it. Ontario needs communities that are designed with people in mind. Our leader, Mike Schreiner, has shown that even one MPP working across party lines can have a positive impact that ensures the interests of all Ontarians are represented. We have real challenges facing us. With the right focus and the right leadership, we can implement solutions for a cleaner, fairer, more sustainable future. On June 2nd, vote for me, Christian Proulx, in Ottawa-Vanier, and let's build the Ontario you want with the leadership that we need. And together, we can do it. Thank you.
Michael Pastion of the New Blue Party, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
I'm your New Blue candidate for freedom versus corruption, pandemic flip-flop mandates and vax passes, censorship, dictatorship, extreme education system indoctrination. Voters are tired of the pandemic lockdown drama of the last 2 years. By the way, honk honk, there's no smartphone video or photo proof on Google of alleged violence and vandalism created by the thousands who were there during the 3-week protest downtown by the truckers. I'm for holistic healthcare empathy, fiscal visionary environmental realism, plus we the people, minimalist government. Please vote New Blue. Thank you.
David McGruer of the Freedom Party, it is now time for your closing statement. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. I hope you can see from my answers that everything ties together. The parties currently holding seats think government's role is to make laws that treat citizens not as individuals, but as members of collectives, such as vaccinated versus unvaccinated. They turn the groups they make against one another to justify increasing the scope of their powers. They are united in the view that government and alleged experts know what is best for the health and happiness of millions of individuals. They believe they know better than parents what decisions to make about children. They all believe your happiness is irrelevant, that your life, passions, goals, and aspirations should be sacrificed to achieve the allegedly loftier plans of government and of the people it really serves, political pressure groups. Going against the plans written for pandemics, they ignored objective age-based risks in favor of universal mask mandates, lockdowns, and multiple mandatory injections, causing large-scale damage to citizens' health, education, work, and financial security. It must never happen again. Freedom and reason must be restored to Ontario society.
Blake Hamilton of the None of the Above Party, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
Thank you all very much for your questions and for listening today. We can disagree on many things, but in the end, we all still need to work together to fix our deeply flawed and broken system, to rescue and restore our very democracy itself. I believe that this is the single most important issue in this election, from which all other issues and problems stem, and can ultimately be resolved. On June 2nd, I ask you to stand with me and give us, the mandate to protect our cherished rights, while also living up to our collective responsibilities. Everyone knows it's now or never. You've been taken for granted for far too long now. Enough is enough. It's time for a real change. Elect me, and I will be that change. Your true representative, someone who works for the many, not for the few. Thank you.
Lyra Evans of the NDP, it's time for your closing statement. You have 60 seconds.
As an elected official at the school board, I have thus far answered 100% of my emails personally, and I will uphold the same promises that I made as a trustee. I will always hear you out, I will always explain my decisions, and I will always tell you where I stand on an issue and why. Sometimes that means we may disagree, like adults, but I won't dismiss you out of hand or give you lip service by saying one thing and doing another. I am disappointed no questions were asked about electoral reform, so my final thought for you is this. This riding is not conservative. I hope I have motivated you by our discussion of policy, but if you are voting primarily to remove Ford, then you have two equally valid votes here in Ottawa-Vanier, as even if the NDP and the Liberals split the vote perfectly down the middle, the Conservatives still wouldn't win. And if the NDP wins, we're committed to electoral reform, specifically mixed member proportional, and you would never have to worry about strategic voting again. If elected, I would work tirelessly for you, and not the bigwig lawyers, not the well-connected developers, you. Remember to vote Lyra Evans with the NDP on June 2nd.
Coreen Corcoran of the Libertarian Party, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
My closing statement is a direct plea to the voters of Ottawa-Vanier. Please take your vote seriously and consider what a party stands for before marking your ballot. Voting for the status quo will be detrimental to the province and put us even further behind in the areas of education and healthcare. We can't sustain the debt and poor delivery of service that we accept for some reason with a shrug in this province, in this country. It's time to do something that puts more control in your hands. Stop allowing governments to waste taxpayer dollars on bad service and cost overruns on mega projects. We have to start holding our governments accountable for the decisions they make that do more to help keep them in office than they do to improve our province. It's time to create an inspiring, imaginative, and innovative province. The Ontario Libertarian Party will be accountable to our constituents. We will treat tax dollars like our own, which will result in a more prosperous Ontario for everyone.
Lucille Collard of the Liberal Party, it's time for your closing statement. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. As I campaign a really beautiful and diversified riding, it's very clear that Ontarians have really high expectation on their next government. And I know that the bold ideas contained in the Ontario Liberal platforms will resonate with you, because those ideas are the results of very extensive consultation. Those ideas come from you. We've heard you. You want more affordable housing. We need better healthcare. Taking care of our seniors is a priority. Making life more affordable and prioritize education without forgetting protecting our environment. Those are the priorities that we are putting forward for you. And your support will allow me to continue to be a strong voice for you, to be a representative that can bring those priorities at Queen's Park to make sure that they are addressed properly. Thank you.
Eric Armstrong-Giroux of the Ontario Party, you have 60 seconds for your closing statement.
When Doug Ford was elected premier, he inherited approximately $330 billion in debt. We currently sit at about $450 billion in debt. This means every single person in Ontario now owes $30,475. The debt is projected to hit up to $504 billion by the year 2024. That would be a total increase in debt of 34%. It is projected that our interest payments alone will be over $3 billion a month. Think of all the healthcare or teachers or social assistance programs that could be funded with that additional $18 billion a year. We face a challenge. Nobody wants cuts, nobody wants downsizing, and nobody wants higher taxes. But we all want more services. The Ontario Party has fiscal responsibility listed as one of our 6 core pillars, and we are ready to make the difficult decisions that need to be made to truly stop the party with the people's money. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our candidates for participating today, and thank you at home for watching. Of course, we encourage you to get out and vote, and also to tune in to Rogers TV for in-depth coverage on election night.